Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. This is the wrap-up of our August 2020 virtual art retreat, Your Faith Has Made You Well. And even though you have all been inside my device, I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of the experience that I've shown you here. We've been staying at the Mount Carmel Retreat Centre in Varroville, just out of Sydney, and it's just the most beautiful, quiet, peaceful place to stay. So I hope you all found a little bit of peace, a little bit of healing. And now we're going to wrap up the retreat with our final tutorial for the tag. We always do a tag at the end of our retreats, well, as of 2 months ago, June, July. So this will be the August tag. Now, please, you don't have to make this tag. You can have something completely different in mind. That would be absolutely great. I would love to see some different takes on tags with this theme of healing. If you want to follow along with me, come right along. So I've done a few things off camera because they're the things that are really boring to watch. I've cut out my tag in a thin chipboard, the kind of stuff that comes at the back of a notepad. Cut it to the same size as the other tags that I have made. So mine just happens to be 4 by 7 inches. Make yours any size you like. I have painted gesso on one side, white gesso that is, because I don't want the grey colour of the chipboard showing through what I'm going to stick here. And on the back, I've already decorated the back, and all I've done is I have stuck a bit of paper from this Santoro Korikumi 8x8 inch collection that has all these very, very beautiful, pretty designs. And I kind of like the girl sitting on the cotton ball plant or dandelion, whichever it may be. I think the dandelions, because there's all the little bits flowing out. I thought it was kind of cute and appropriate. So that's the back of my tag, and this is going to look so completely out of place when we see this side, because this side is going to be a little bit stark, I think, or a bit, I don't know, something shocking, I don't know. Full disclosure, this is not my own design. I got this idea off Pinterest. I know I get a lot of ideas on Pinterest, and a lot of the time I'll see something, sometimes I'll save it and go back to it a few times. Sometimes I'll sort of follow along and have it in front of me. But when I do these tutorials, if they come from Pinterest, then what I'll do is I'll have a look at it, let it burn into my memory, then put it away so that what I end up making is not an exact copy of the thing on Pinterest, because in that case, I may as well just give you the link and say, go over there and copy that. And it's quite interesting because I very often will then finish my project, go back to the original on Pinterest, if I've happened to have saved it, and go, oh look, this is completely different, like absolutely nothing, because in my mind I will change things and I won't remember things correctly, and I'll go down a whole different path. So this is what's happening today. I saw this very, very cool art journal page, which I thought would make a brilliant end of retreat tag. Burned it into my memory. Forgot to save it. So, who knows what it actually originally looked like compared to what I'm going to end up with. But that's the whole point, isn't it? Because if I'm just copying stuff to the letter, then I'm not actually creating anything, am I? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this side, the part that I have gessoed, with a Bible page. And I was going to use the page that has my focus verse for this retreat, but strangely enough, I've already torn that one out of the art Bible that I brought with me. This is the one problem of going away on an art retreat is, even though I bought boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff, I don't have the verse I want in my art Bible. Wish I'd bought a backup. I don't have any sanding block or sandpaper. I don't have my distress inks, so I can't ink around the edge of my tag. I'll have to do that when I get home. There's so much I did not bring because I was not planning on using it. But such is life. Okay, so I'm actually, you could use any paper with any script or typewriter writing on it. You don't have to use a Bible page. You could use anything that's got words on it. You could, if you don't have an art supply Bible, you can easily just print out something from the internet. I am, as always, there's secret journaling going on, not just in my journaling, but in everything I do. So I have actually chosen Psalm 88 to use as my background. Look it up, people. And yeah, I kind of thought it was appropriate for me anyway, just for, you know, what's my theme song again? There's stuff going on. So I've only put gesso, clear gesso that is, up the top of the page so that I can actually line this up. Stick the top there. I haven't cut it very well, or actually I haven't placed it down very well. There's a bit of space there and it's overlapping here. But normally I would peel that off, have a panic and go, oh no, 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 it's not right. But today I am not worrying because this is actually going to have a bit of a frame over the top of it. So then I paint clear gesso over the top as well to seal it, to protect it, to double stick it. And the process of doing that, I'm going on quite hard with my brush, is I'm pushing out a lot of the air bubbles that have formed underneath. Now it's still looking a bit wrinkly, but I'm not concerned because experience tells me that when it dries, it won't be wrinkly anymore. And if it is still a bit wrinkly, on this particular tag it won't matter because it will actually add to the effect. So I'm going to let that dry. Okay, so while my tag continues to dry, I'm going to go to the next part of our project, and I have cut out a heart shape just on white paper. I've cut this out of my sketchbook. I kind of wish I had thought to bring along some white cardstock, something a bit thicker. Something thicker would make me happier because I might end up with this being raised like on 3D foam tape or something. But this is what I have for today, so that's what I'm going to use. So you want it to be absolutely no wider than your tag, possibly a little bit smaller, because we're actually going to break it. Mine is pretty much the same as the tag. I'm actually going to trim it just a tiny bit because I think it's just a tiny bit too wide. I don't really want it going over the edges, so that might be better. We'll see how that goes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it red, and I want it to be a very dark red, so it might end up needing a couple of layers of paint, especially since the paint I'm using today is not a particularly heavy body paint. I'm using Kaiser Craft Kaiser Color acrylic, which is, the red is actually quite nice and it dries with a little bit of a shine, and not too much but just a bit, but it's not the thickest of paints. So once it dries I might give it a second layer. So now that the paint is dry, I ended up doing 3 layers of red because I want it to be very saturated. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp over it. Now all I brought with me, once again, wish I'd brought the whole house. I've brought all my Bible journaling stamps with me. I kind of wish I'd brought some others that were more of a, I don't know, a generic big design with no writing. But once again, it is what it is, so I will just play with what I have. So I'm going to use this Sweet and Sassy, I always forget what this one's called. It's something background. Something background. Here we go. No, it doesn't. Yes, typewriter text background. So I'm going to, and I won't even bother with the acrylic block for this one, because I'm just going to do some rough here, there and everywhere kind of bits of background script, I guess you'd call it. Now, I don't know if you're seeing that very well. Maybe if I turn some lights on. Oh, look, light. It's just suddenly got a little bit darkish outside. So I'm not doing the whole stamp across the heart. I'm just adding bits and pieces, so it's kind of a messy look and doesn't actually read across. So I want it more as a background than a feature. Then I have this American Crafts. I think this one is called Anchor, and I'm pretty sure it's now discontinued. But I like the one that says "Be strong and take heart" with the heart. It's kind of cool for a few reasons. And I think I might put it there. I'm being thoughtful of where I'm going to cut the heart, because it would be silly to put this stamp on the heart and then have it cut in half. So I'm going to put it here. Oh, that's quite dark. That's okay. It's all right. I meant it to be dark. See, if you make a boo-boo and then you say, but I meant that, then it's all okay. So I'm thinking I need something up here. I don't want it to be just the script. I want something to kind of give it a bit of interest. And I don't want the Easter stamp, and I don't want the Christmas stamp. Okay, I might use this Colorado Craft Company. It's a Lovely Legs stamp, and this one is called Bible, and it has the bottom part of a girl sitting cross-legged on a chair reading her Bible, and I'm thinking that might be kind of appropriate. So I'm going to put that up in this corner. And lesson learned from the other one, I'm not going to press too hard. And having done that, I should have pressed hard because it's come out a bit yucky and I can't tell what it is. But that's okay, because then I will say, well, I meant that to be very backgroundy. So there you go. Again, if you make a boo, pretend you meant it to be that way, and it's no longer a boo. So I'm going to take that away and heat dry it, so that I know the ink's not going to smudge when I put my hands on it. So having dried that, I then, using just a pencil, I drew a cracked broken heart line on my heart. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm actually going to cut it out now. It's not perfectly positioned, but I had to take into account this quote that I stamped. I did not want to cut it in half or cut a piece of it off. So that is my broken heart, and I am now that just came out all wrong, didn't it? Didn't it? Can't even speak. Her speech is as broken as her heart. Okay, so I've got some black paint now, and I am using the Dina Wakley paint for this because I do love her paints. They're actually called heavy body acrylic stamps, acrylic paint. I told you my speech is broken. They're heavy body paints, and yet they are quite thick. And this is almost empty, and I really, really hope I have just enough for my heart. That's all I want. Beautiful. I do have a backup paint, but for this part of the project, I really wanted to use this heavy paint. And I am going to just paint a border around, I'm very sorry if I keep going off camera. I'm not used to the position of this thing here. It's usually clamped to my desk at home where it never moves. And so I always know that everything's going to be in shot for you. And because I'm in a new place today and I've clamped it onto the little desk at the retreat center, I keep forgetting to check that everything is where it should be. And I think I keep going off on the side. So my apologies. And I'm going all the way around, and I'm even doing a border along the cracked edge of the heart. So this is quite a strong coloured tag that we're making today. It's basically reds and blacks. That's why I had a bit of a laugh at the paper I chose for the back, because it's not really suitable, but it will lighten things up. So that's 1/2. I don't mind the way that's looking, actually. So I will just keep doing it. I'll do the second half. You don't have to watch. Very boring, I'm sorry. So I started to do the next bit off camera, and I thought I'd better do a little bit of a show and tell and show you what I'm doing. First of all, I took this outside. I did not film it because I needed to go outside. I did not think it was appropriate to spatter red and black paint all over the this room. So I went out on the grass and I did some paint spattering, red and black, all over the tag. I made it quite watery so that it would so that I'd get a big spatter, not tiny dots. So that's done. This is quite a simple project. It's just got lots of steps to it. Now what I've done is I have grabbed this handmade paper, which is really textured and very thick, sort of like the paper that you would make yourself, handmade, haha. I know it's orange. It won't be for long. If I had black, that would have been perfect, but I don't have any black, so I'm going to end up painting it. And what I've done is I've cut it to the size of the tag, and I am now using a wet brush to paint a line along the inside to create a frame. And I'm doing it this way rather than cutting it, because if you do it with a wet brush, once the paper gets wet, you can rip it easily and you get that wonderful ripped look whilst still having control over where the paper is ripping. So this will give me a nice neat frame, but it will have the tattered ripped edge on the inside, on the inside. And then what I'm going to do once I've ripped it all off is I'm going to use this side, which is more textured, and I'm going to paint it with my black paint. So I cut out the frame and I then painted it with black paint so that I have a lovely handmade paper, sort of rough around the edges on the inside, black frame for my tag. And I'm just going to stick it down, and I'm using a nice strong liquid glue for this. Art Glitter brand, my brand of choice at the moment, as I think you all know. And I'm just sticking one bit at a time, because being handmade paper, it's moving around a fair deal and sort of stretching out of shape a little bit. So I'm doing one side at a time as I pull it back into shape. And I'll just go all the way around with that. Now here is the tag with the border dried. I also ran a bit of black paint along the edges so that you can't see the grey of the card. A little bit went over the edge of the back cover, but I'm not concerned because I am going to ink that with some dark brown when I get home, because I don't have my inks here with me. Now what I also did is the hearts, I wanted them to be lifted just a little bit, have a little bit of dimension, but Of course, I did not bring my foam mounting sticky square things with me because I was not anticipating this. So what I did is I got an extra bit of the card that I used to make the tag with, and I just cut a couple of pieces slightly smaller than my hearts and leaving this part blank because it's going to be overlapping over this border, and I just stuck those to the bottom, so that makes the heart just a little bit thicker and off the bottom. Now I'm going to glue the heart down, and thinking of where I want to put it, if there's anything that I would cover more than anything else on this tag, it would be this area here. Not that I'm really concerned, but I chose it for Psalm 88, which runs down here and down this column. So I would be more prone to covering this than this area there. So I might put my tag or my heart sort of kind of there, I think. So I'm just going to, and I'm only going to put the glue onto the chipboard or thick cardstock, whatever you're using. If you're using your foam mounting squares, you don't have to worry about the glue unless you want to add glue as well, just to make it extra stick. That was a good sentence. Make it extra stick. Yeah. So that way I have, I don't know if it's really showing, a little bit of dimension to my heart. I'll just do this side as well. I'm sorry about the bad lighting, but it's night time now, and the lighting, this is a wonderful, wonderful place, but the lighting is not so great. So I've got a couple of lamps going. There's a really, really great floor lamp, which is saving me at the moment because it's got a nice bright light. Okay, so I'm sticking this and I'm leaving just the tiniest little gap between the two so that my heart is obviously broken but not taking up too much space or looking kind of weird because of the big space. Now what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of white thick paper out of my sketchbook, and I'm just going to cut some little rectangle shapes and put some words on this side of the heart. So I cut out my 3 little rectangles and I've written my words, and I then used a black Sharpie to draw a border around them. I also used the Sharpie to just run the ink just along the outside edge. It doesn't, you probably don't think it makes a difference because you don't really see that tiny thin slit of paper, but it does make a difference. It just gives it a tiny bit more dimension really, and outlines it better because you don't see that slight bit of white on the sides. Now before I stick those on, and note on what to write, you can write anything obviously. You don't have to do what I've done. You might want to write your focus verse on, you know, in small writing on little bits and pieces. You might want to write your focus verse on one piece of paper. You might want to stick a tag on there with your focus verse. You might want to write a line from anywhere. You might want to just write some words that mean something to you. I've written something that is personal to me and means something, especially this weekend. So I'm not going to go into it either here or not even in the group. It's like beyond TMI. There you go. So yeah, but I had a thing. Here she goes with the theme song. It's either something happened or I had a thing. I had a thing booked this afternoon. I had a really good chat and things were talked about, and anyway, this will probably get edited out, so I'll stop. So anyway, but what I'm going to do before I stick those on is that this is just looking a little bit too red for me. So I've got a bit of white paint, and I'm just going to use my favorite paintbrush, my finger, and I'm just going to just dab some little bits of white, and then, oops, and once it's done, goodness me, once it's done, it's done. I'm just trying to avoid that weird semicircle kind of design that I was getting there. I'm using this Stamperia paint, which seems to kind of dry the second it hits the surface. So I'm just going to go for plan B and use my second favourite paintbrush. That's a bit better. Finger painting is not always the appropriate response. So there we go. So I'm just dabbing some little bits here and there. There's no rhyme or reason. Just to break up that red, just a tiny bit, because it was a little bit too red for me. Okay, and having done that, I will now just make sure that I have enough space for them and decide where my words are going to go and exactly what kind of spacing I want. And I'm going to work from the bottom down, because if I run out of space, it would be the bottom that would be an issue. So all three of them are stuck down. So this is my tag. All I need to do now is ink the outside of the back, punch a hole and put some ribbons through, which I can't do until I get home. So I might, yeah, I might get that done and then finish off the video tomorrow night or Sunday, something. Okay, so quick summary. I'm home now, as you can see. And tag is finished. I did ink around the edges of the back. I used my Distress Ink Aged Mahogany, so that it's got browns that tie into the picture of the girl, but also a bit of a reddish tinge to tie in with the red heart. So all I need to do now is grab my previous month's tags. Oh, I am going to write the name of the retreat down here. Forgot that. But yeah, I'll write the name of the retreat. Sorry about the ding ding phone. And then that's it. So I pop it onto the jump ring with the previous 2 months. Oops. And there we have June, July, August. 3 tags for 3 retreats. So thank you again for joining me, and we'd love to see yours. Please post them somewhere in the group God's Refrigerator, on the event in that group, our August 2020 virtual art retreat, Your Faith Has Made You Well, or on my private Facebook profile, Georgia I Dreams. All my social links are down below. Come over, say hello, show me your tags. We'd love to see them. Thank you again for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.